Woo! It is Wednesday, and we are continuing our theme of remote working. And today we have a guest all the way from South Africa. So we are globetrotters here. We have anybody that comes to our show, and our focus today is remote working. It's driving me crazy. And so Monique Diez from MD Dynamics, a fellow GCologist, that is very different from Roxana and I. And so we said, what would that look like if we invited someone that is probably very needing to have that social interaction with people, and I mean by physical. And I'm curious if it's driving her crazy right now. And okay, maybe that's a little devilish of me. I don't know, but that's where my head was going. Roxana, you're laughing there, but and so of course, disruptive me said, I'm going to ask Monique if she'll come. We'll see if she plays, and wants to join. And you said yes. And so thank you for being here. Awesome. So
such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, very excited to join you guys.
Yeah.
So how are you doing?
Exactly. That is the question. The question.
Well. I think initially I wasn't too intimidated by the whole going online, because I've always been passionate about moving stuff online and technology, and I'm not a big fan of paper, and I don't have any awesome bookshelves behind me. But if you go down to my study, there probably are a good couple of files and books down there. And I just prefer space and less clutter. So I was quite happy to move everything online initially. I do a lot of coaching, business coaching, and I found I was able to connect with people. I was a little concerned about it initially, but I have found I've been able to connect with people, have conversation that, perhaps they may not have even felt comfortable having face-to-face, So I wouldn't be concerned about it, but, perhaps they may have been. So initially, I was quite excited by discovering that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Having said that, there are quite a few things that I wanted to get going that haven't happened. And as we ease out of various levels of lockdown that we've been in South Africa, people are kind of coming out of hibernation. It's definitely been a case of just not being able to get things done, We joke in South Africa because in Johannesburg, where I stay, we're extremely... we're motivated and driven, so we like to get things done. And we joke if we deal with people at the coast, jokingly, that, they just don't have the same sense of urgency we do. And I've found the more I've done business globally, there definitely are countries, I'm definitely not going to name them either, that are just more relaxed. They don't have that sense of urgency. And committing to something, you may only receive a week or 2 or 3 or 4 later, Whereas if we're expecting something urgently, 24 hours is probably the deal, and if you can't do 24 hours, you say so in advance. So it took a lot of getting used to, and I haven't loved that at all. I'm enjoying now, being able to book coaching sessions, and where we can socially distance, where I actually would rather sit in front of someone, I'll be 2 meters away, and have a conversation, because I do think that there are quite a few nuances that you don't pick up. We are fine technologically right now, but, people have challenges. I do coaching with some MBA students, part-time students. So they go back to work, and it's great. If they're connected to fiber or online at work, no problems. A lot of them go home, fiber issues, so the signal drops and the video link drops, and you can't really get a feel for, some of their responses. You just can't quite pick up that sense of, should you follow that path? Or should you step away and kind of look at another conversation to start? And I believe there is a leaf blower about to go off. All right, you said this is what freaks me out about working at home. Hold on a second. Over to you guys for a few moments, I think.
Those of you that might not know, we picked Monique also because not only is she with her GC index profile, I don't know if you got that, Roxana.
I don't have it yet. The joys of technology.
So she's a playmaker, which means that she is very people oriented and likes to orchestrate, helping people get to action. And is really good at working. So that is one of the things that we wanted to see. How was that working for her in remote? But she's a polisher-playmaker, where there's a sense of a little bit of perfection and wanting things to have good quality. And so I'm going to tease you a little bit, Monique, here, if you don't mind. So when she got on, the first question she asked was, do you have a virtual background that you can put? and then we're like, we haven't tested that out.
Yeah.
Well, now you know for next time, right?
But it's interesting, Monique.
If my scores haven't come through yet.
I wanted to ask you, what do you miss? What do you miss most? Because I'm talking to people, and some of them say, "I just miss my morning coffee with my colleagues," or "I miss hugging people." I hear so many people say that. I miss hugging people. I miss that energy when we get in the office in a meeting and just talk to each other and brainstorm together, face to face, rather than virtually. So what is it for you? What do you miss most?
So I must be honest, I've been running my own business for the last 3 years. So I have a home office, I'm home based. So because of that, I felt I was almost prepared, for this. So I haven't really missed that office connection. What I have missed, though, apart from the coaching, where I prefer, even in that session, we moved to Zoom later, and it was due to COVID, the risk of COVID. But that initial face-to-face made such a difference, and it made it much easier to move on to Zoom afterwards. Probably what I miss the most is just interacting with people and brainstorming, having conversations, meeting for coffee. We do, and you'll know this, in fact, if you're not office-based, a lot of the work you do, a lot of the conversations you have are in coffee shops, meeting out, very outdoorsy. So I've missed that. I've missed not being able to connect with people in a way just that I'm accustomed to, I will say, though, that as lockdown, so we went to hard lockdown very early on, as it progressed, I kind of went, well, there's only one way to fix this. And this is kind of to reach out to people, perhaps that you wouldn't normally reach out to. And so the three of us having this conversation is maybe one example, of that. Early in November, I am with a group of awesome ladies hosting some sessions with some School of Tourism and Hospitality students at the University of. I may not have had the opportunity to do that. I may have stood up and done it face to face, but guess what? They're all connecting with me on LinkedIn already. So we already have a more one-on-one relationship than we would have had pre-lockdown. They already have my email address. Already questions are coming through. And so I think what I've done, and maybe that's the playmaker, right, is taken the things that were stressing me out initially, and I've actually turned it to my own advantage, right? So I've reconnected with people I haven't spoken to in a long time, and guess what? I don't have to apologize for not being in touch, because everyone is in touch online now, so it's quite normal, right? So now I'm quite excited about it, and just expanding my networks incredibly. And just being in touch with people, I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship and supporting entrepreneurs, and particularly kind of as they're going to be job seekers coming out of university, that kind of space. Unemployment, the unemployment rate is horrific in South Africa, and a lot of people are being forced into entrepreneurship, right? So they speak about lifestyle entrepreneurs. They just want the comfortable life. Well, it's not that. It's a case of necessity, and there's a way that you have to deal with that. It's not easy. But guess what? Now that we're all online, the connectivity is so much easier. That if people just know that you're available, and you can book a call, and you can have honest conversation, and you learn to look at the camera and not down where the images are, so it feels like you're connecting more. All those little tricks.
Hello.
You know, it's really been, so it's been beneficial more after the fact. I think I kind of wish I'd realized a little sooner. And I definitely spent a little, actually, I'm so zoomed out. Zoomed out, it's got to be the kind of phrase of the year. Because people doing presentations, this is an interactive conversation. I think, I don't even want to know the number of free webinars I registered for in the first 3 months. The knowledge is all sitting in here. I'm sure I will be, I'll be astounded because I've remembered so much of the stuff. Be like, oh yeah, where did I hear that? It was on one of those free Zoom sessions, right? But the challenge with them is that it's not interactive. So it doesn't kind of, you shut your laptop, you walk away, and yeah, what value has it really added, So I think that's probably another part of it, It was great to have access to all that information, but I definitely had a bit of an information overload. And maybe that's the polisher as well, right? You don't want to miss out on anything. So they're doing this differently in the US and this in Canada. And, at the moment in Spain, this is what's happening. Awesome. I love, travel technology. It's really cool to see what's going on. But ultimately, I had to become more selective about what I was attending, what I was absorbing. But we also, we got to connect. I've developed awesome partnerships over the past 3 months as well. With companies in Spain, with companies, in Canada and the US, in Australia as well. And the time zone thing is actually not such an issue. You just work your way around it, Yeah, so I think probably the hugs. I do miss the hugs, right? We're very much
up entrepreneurship and you being a playmaker. Connecting with people is probably not something challenging for you, right? But interesting, you have a lot of people that are out of work right now. And then you're talking about people even trying to, start their own thing. I still have conversations with people where they are not comfortable in a social presence in the platforms and look at us, we're doing live events. I actually had to get a coach to start making videos because I was as you know, I asked people to take the SCARF model, my social driver status. I was highly critical of myself. And I got over it because it is so important today that in order to connect people, it's almost like the world is our oyster, that you have like, what is it, 600 million people that are on LinkedIn platform today, that if you get out there and show up and let people know what you have to offer, or connect with people that you maybe not have connected with, you wouldn't know what's going to open up to you. Yeah. And I think that's extremely important, where those of you that are not comfortable with it, there are ways to get help, where you can get the support network. There's so many people out there. I mean, I think even us on the call on this live event would be, more than willing to help elevate those of you. It's so different now because everyone's on. Now, what would you probably say is the one thing that you have found probably the most profound experience going online, especially I'm very curious as a playmaker, that you weren't able to get it before this all happened? Is there anything that you're like, wow, I never was able to do this outside of just connecting with people in Spain? Is there something that maybe changed the way you even thought about how you're talking to people today?
I would say, yeah, I am pretty comfortable connecting with people, but I would say probably the biggest level at which I'm connecting now. So I don't feel the need to go through all the loops to get to the person I need to connect to. The gatekeepers have kind of been removed. If you want to connect with someone at a senior level, well, best you send them a message, how you want to connect, hope it's mutually beneficial, or what's the point, or if it's beneficial to them to connect with you, that's also cool, That's probably the biggest thing that has changed. People are more accessible, and they may have, less time, interestingly enough. Work-life balance is so blurred, and that worries me a little for everybody, you know. Because, yeah, I'm permanently on my cell phone, but now we're doing business online, we're socializing online. So wonder how many people are actually backing that, you know. They're kind of taking a back seat. It's amazing to spend so much time with them. At some point, you only have so many rooms in the house, you know, in a study right now. So, yeah, I guess the best thing about it is being able to connect at a much higher level, and I've certainly made connections that I will keep long after, you know, COVID has passed, or after the crisis has passed. And I think that those people that were the gatekeepers before, I think they're going to have a hard time stepping back into that role, because a lot of them felt, the word I'm looking for, I don't know, that validated, you know, by being the gatekeeper. And I just think there's really no room for them anymore. I think people need to learn to manage their space and their time. And if there are people that you don't want to connect with, well, you know, don't connect. Don't connect. There are ways to disconnect as well, you know. That's probably what I would say, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty profound, is gatekeepers. And maybe some that might be watching right now is you can really cut out the middleman and think about, even I'm gonna go on the limb and just say this is conferences. I love conferences about when you're physically there and having that organic, but if you're only going there to be able to market yourself or get out there, in all honesty, you don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah.
You don't. That's a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
That's true. And I think also I don't know, some stuff that happened also with this need for virtual connection, for connection really, because we couldn't have it any other way, was that we learned to connect better. And I think we'll learn to connect better even though we're online and virtual, but we pay attention more to each other virtually than we used to do when we was sitting together around the table in a coffee shop and just checking and scrolling on our mobile phone. I think because we craved for this connection, so many of us, and I think, I mean, I'm a game changer strategist. I for Playmaker, I only have something like 4, so I have some energy for that, but it doesn't naturally go there. But I think everybody felt this need to connect one way or the other. And we craved it, and we learned how to do it better than before. And what I found was, for me, it's easier to have this kind of online conversations where I can see people's faces rather than have face-to-face conversations with people who have their masks on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah, look, they take the eyes to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And they say the eyes are to the pathway to the soul. But when you're trying to look at body language on when people are talking, it's extremely hard to read what's happening, right? You're going to have to look at other cues, because your face has so many cues of what's out there, right? What's telling. I mean, there's could be things that you're physically doing, but you miss all of that. I think, you know, one of the things that I always love, and I love people, I'm an extreme extrovert. Remember, my predictive index is a promoter. So I love like connecting with people and walking in a room. And, you know, even when I worked at a company, or even when I'm there for a client engagement, and you feel that energy that's around you, and just that honest, simple question of someone going, "Are you okay? What's going on with your day? How was your day?"
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people just love being asked that. And you know what? Maybe you just want, you know, you're a sounding board to them. That's gone. You have to be more deliberate now to even do something like that. Because I notice, even when I chatting with Roxana about things, I have to deliberately ask that question because I don't have that sensory. It's gone. And how many times now have I been talking to people and we don't do it anymore?
Yeah.
And someone needs that day. They need to be asked, how are you? Because they actually maybe liked going to work because they wanted to talk about the things that are going on in their life. And now their friend or a group of friends that they had at work, they don't do it anymore. It's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really do think that the water cooler chat, that's a real thing. People miss that, and I think there was also initially maybe some guilt for wanting to go back to that from a couple of the people I've spoken to.
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because when you are, for the longest time, I've been part of big multinational organizations or even just big local organizations. And once you go it alone, right, you learn that you are your brand. You are your brand. So it's not about your association with a bigger brand that whatever is happening globally or locally. And I think a lot of people that are still working in those organizations feel that loss of identity because they're not going into work. They're not going to work, and it's not just about wearing uniform. It's about the organizational culture, how things are done, how decisions are made, how they debate. Perhaps they're told what to do. Perhaps there's a more autocratic style. It's all that stuff that that comes together. And I have to say, I have been grateful on a number of occasions over the past months that I sort of went to learn for the second time 3 years ago. And just that this is my groove already, so I don't miss that interaction. I do miss the interaction with others and not just potential clients, potential partners. I've got a load of associates that I work with. I love meeting with them, seeing what they're doing. We inspire one another, and that's the exciting stuff. And I actually had a call with a friend earlier who, we got into a stage where we sort of set it up that we speak once a week. And every now and then something happens and we don't. And we realized today, we missed our call because there was so much going on. So we had a chat this week and, it needs to be coffee or tea or whatever. We need to connect. We need to see each other and have a conversation because just after our chat, he kind of went, okay, I actually feel better. I feel better. I can do this. I can definitely do this. I can move ahead. I'm like, of course you can do it. There was no doubt. But unfortunately, when you're alone and you're having all the challenges you do and you don't have it's not a structured coaching session. It's a friend. It's a really good friend. And we just missed that conversation and going kind of just to inspire one another again. And the work that I'm potentially going to be doing, not potentially, that I'll be doing with the students in November, I'm so excited about because I think they're in the travel space. And if there's an industry that has been crushed, that's certainly one of them. But to just inspire them that, they've spent 3 years studying an industry which potentially they're going to battle to get a job when they get out, unless they have a different approach, unless they get out and say, what can I do for this industry? What can we do differently? What value can I bring? And do I need to do that as part of a big organization? Or could I connect with a couple of like-minded people and create something?
Gosh,
and that inspires me.
And me being an agilist, we try to create independent critical thinking and problem solvers and getting people to be self-managing. And what you just said, it got me thinking, okay, game changer me, boom, boom, ideas are firing off in my head while you're talking, can't help it. But it stems from a lot of people, when you said loss of identity and I don't know what to do, it is probably awakening call is that one of the challenges that we probably have a lot when it comes to the people side of Agile and our transformations is that they aren't independent thinkers. They aren't self-go-getters. And so this is a clear indication and you know how many people that I have FOMO issues, that they have to feel like they're in every meeting. And I have to wonder, is it because if they don't do this, they don't know what to do with themselves right now? And it got me wondering when you just said that is this is a good test to all of you that are listening right now is do you have fear of FOMO and you're going to meetings? Are you feeling lost that when you're at home, you don't know what to do with yourself? And this is a great opportunity to probably start thinking about who you are, who you serve, and how you can contribute. So you have that self-fulfillment. Oh my God, this is huge. Like when you said that, I was like, wow. Wow.
And because we have 4 more minutes left, right? So I wanted to ask Monique, because you also mentioned you're your own brand, and I know that you also have a series called the LinkedIn Sessions, which I'm going to start sharing now. And I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about that, because that is super interesting.
Yeah, so what was super interesting is that it was supposed to happen in Women's Month in August. And lockdown and various other obstacles kind of crossed our paths. So it did not. So it morphed into what is now the LinkedIn session. So Siobhan and Nom's an incredible woman in their own right. Thinkers. So the company started, they took the GC index and their profiles came out. We had the one-on-one feedback session, and it kind of morphed into something so much bigger. And so I'm super excited about it. So now we're having conversation around, how did COVID impact them? How has lockdown impacted them personally? What have they done to deal with it moving forward, to make a difference to their teams? All of them work in teams, whether it's associates in other businesses or within their own business. And how do their specific profiles, how have they played up and how have they been a benefit, kind of like the chat we're having now, during this period, and what they're going to be doing differently moving forward. So I'm really excited about it. We'll be running them on LinkedIn, and then they'll be on my website as well. And starting to run them. The first 2 interviews have already run, so it's just sadly going to be some polishing taking place. So I cannot commit to having done that in 48 hours, I'm afraid. That's going to take a while. So as soon as they're up, I'll post the links, and I really look forward to sharing those conversations with everyone, because it is about that. It's also about women supporting women in business. I'm passionate about that too. There are a lot of things I'm passionate about. I think the great thing really is I'm just able to tap into so much of it now. And part of that is as a result of COVID, a big part of it, because people are so much more accessible, that I'm finding those barriers to entry are far lower. And perhaps I've become far more intentional as well. So really excited about them, and I will keep everyone in the loop.
That's awesome. Now, those of you that go after live, we will put all our links in the description of the YouTube video. So that will be there just as well. So you can get a hold of Monique and connect with her on other things. So we got about a minute left. So Roxana, you have an event.
I do have an event. It's going to be a webinar series. So if you go to Eventbrite, you will see there are a few dates that I scheduled it for. It's called Lead for Legacy, Be a Dream Boss for yourself and for your dream team. Because I think, the dream was that we're happy and successful and enjoy our work. So we don't want the dream to turn into a nightmare. So it can still be a dream. We can keep it alive. So join me and find out more about it.
And that will also be in the description, because I know it's a pretty long URL. I'll link. So don't worry, if you go to the YouTube video after this live event gets done, it will be there for you to access.
Okay.
And my last one is me challenging. What type of Scrum Master are you? So we talk about a lot of skill sets and behaviors around a Scrum Master role, and I challenge career or role. And this is really diving into is, who do you want to show up as and what do you offer as a Scrum Master? So come join me on my free webinar on the 2nd of November. And we're going to dive into those types of Scrum Masters that you could start thinking about how you show up and get out there and promote yourself.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Monique. I hope you come back to visit us. Those of you that...
I will.
Love it. I love it. And we do have a game-changing work newsletter, so you can always keep in touch on all the latest things. We also, when we get that out, we're going to also highlight Monique as well. And so Polisher Monique, you're going to think about what you want to put in there. I just probably freaked you out. And but go ahead and you can sign up for our newsletter as well. Any of you that ever want to come on our show and talk about how you can change the game with work, please get a hold of us. We'd love to have you because we're here to change that paradigm on how people show up for work. And we want all of you guys to feel like it's Friday night every day. And let's blur the lines between life and work.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, see the promoter in her, what she did right now? That is awesome. Yes. Okay. I think that's it for today, ladies. So,
all right.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. Friday.
Have a great day.
Bye now.
Bye.